Hello, welcome to Mothership Gear.
Welcome to Mothership Gear.
Hello, welcome to Mothership Gear. Today I have my friend Jakob Thomas with his Gretsch Falcon. Jakob, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah, so what's the story behind this Gretsch Falcon? Did we figure out what year it is?
I think it's a 2014, because it's got this like rolling bridge, which my newer Falcon doesn't have, which is, or I guess it's not a rolling bridge. It's a, I don't know what it's called. I don't know this stuff, but it moves with the whammy bar. What's
the origin story of this guitar for you?
Well, I bought a new Gretsch Falcon through Gretsch, and I was going through a rep who will remain unnamed, and he kind of was just dropping the ball, and I needed a guitar like really quickly, and he just like didn't want to work with me for some reason. I don't know. I'm so likable. And it was just a lot of drama, and I had just some friends that were kind of connected high up with Fender who, without me telling them to, just kind of like threw their weight around and ended up getting me the guitar. And that guy kind of got yelled at a lot, which I didn't intend for to happen. But one of the old CEOs or something of Gretsch heard about this, felt bad, got my address, and was like, hey, I just want to send you something. Like, what's your address? And I gave it to him, and a few days later, package comes to my door, and it was this guitar.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is like the most insane story, but also the most insane package to receive at your door. What did you think when you opened it?
I mean, I wasn't expecting anything, but I was like, oh, maybe he's like, can you give me some Gretsch t-shirts or something? But I definitely didn't expect like the same, because I have this one in black, and I was thinking maybe if he sends me a guitar, it's going to be like one of their cheaper models. But it was the same guitar, just in white. And so now I have both to complete the collection. But I was kind of like, I was a little freaked out because I feel like I didn't do anything to earn it. I just like kind of
You got yelled at.
I barely got yelled at. The other guy got yelled at. He didn't get a free guitar.
Somebody got yelled at, and Jake got a guitar. That's the story.
Yeah.
What's your history with Gretsch and like the Falcon as a guitar model? Like, what drew you to it? Because you said you already had a Gretsch Falcon. So what inspired the journey into Gretsch land?
I've had a few Gretsches over my life. Kind of the Jet models, which are like smaller body, kind of Les Paul style. But the like Holy Grail was either like a White Falcon or White Penguin Gretsch. And, you know, different people I looked up to when I was, you know, learning guitar at 12 years old, 13 years old. Like, you know, Brian Setzer, like Bono played one. That was cool. It was like a cool green color. So I always wanted one, but they're like, especially when I was a kid, they're like outrageously expensive. It's like, no way I'm getting one of those. So it was kind of like the holy grail guitar, and I just love the way they sound. And now that I'm sort of a grown up, I can I could finally buy myself one, and so it's kind of like a little bit of a check mark of like, oh, I made it. Like I could buy the guitar that I've always wanted. So that's kind of the story. And like I just love, I've always been a Gibson guy too, but they like the versatility of like the humbucker is not as, in my opinion, is not as versatile for like chimier, cleaner tones. And I feel like these humbuckers, they kind of bridge that gap between like a single coil chime with like beefy humbucker tone, like Les Paul tone. And so I don't know, as far as my preference goes, this is like the perfect medium between the two.
Why don't you give us an example of the chimier Gretsch sound and then some of the beefier humbucker stuff that you do with it?
So, I mean, like, you know, classic, like slapback delay. You can get really nice and clean, you know, some like big reverbs. But then can also just have big fat. So you kind of do a little bit of everything, which I kind of need because most of my life, you know, I'm a sideman for different artists and kind of have to be a chameleon as far as tone goes, and this guitar has served me well.
What reverb, what give us a rundown of some of the pedals that you brought today and like what they're doing to create those kind of core sounds that you use with this Gretsch.
So I'm using an amp simulator, and to kind of get it to sound and feel a little more like an amp, people look at me weird when they see my pedal board, because I have a boost pedal, RC booster, and I just dime the output. So it just like hits the front end of the amp sim, and kind of creates like a weird breakup. But it feels more like hitting the front end of like a tube amp to me. So yeah, people are always like, you just dime the output of that? That defeats the purpose. So I'd use that, and then I have just Strymon Timeline Big Sky. Really simple board. But just compression always on. What compressor are you using? It's the Exotic SP comp. I like it because it has a little blend knob, and it's just like two knob control. I don't really mess with the internal switches on it. But yeah, just like a little bit of compression, not too much, especially with big humbuckers, not really as necessary. But yeah, it's basically it. Pretty simple board, but kind of does everything I need it to do. And how does the guitar feel for you? What kinds of things do you find drawn to when you're like with that specific neck and the tonal options that it gives you, as far as like, so I see like 1, 2, 3, 4 knobs. Yeah. Walk us through the knobs, and then also just like how it's constructed and how it feels. So like a normal Falcon, this is the player's edition. So the normal Falcon is, I don't know, 2 inches thicker, I think, than this. So it's kind of a big, beefy guitar that like feeds back all the time. And so I got the player's edition, which is a lot thinner. Feels more like a 335 Gibson. But the neck is nice and thin, which I prefer. The knobs, it's got a 3-way switch. Just classic 3-way tone switch. It's got individual tone knobs for each pickup and volume, and then I think this is just like a master volume for the guitar. But I love having the Bigsby. I don't have I don't have any other guitars with a Bigsby, so it's nice to have that too. Just add a little variety. One thing I don't love is this guitar is hard to travel with because it's so large. The headstock's big, it's long, it's a wide guitar. I had to buy the biggest mono bag that they make, which is for like a giant acoustic guitar, and that barely fits. So I like trying to fly with this is almost not an option, which is the only bummer because I would love to take these everywhere.
Yeah. So is that the case for the black version and the white version?
Yeah. They're like, they might be bigger than a bass guitar.
Wow.
Or like as big, as long as a bass guitar, but also way wider.
So your Gibson is smaller than this one, the red Gibson?
Yeah, 339.
So the 339 is smaller than the Gretsch Players Edition Falcon.
Yeah. Shorter body, way smaller headstock. So it fits in like a normal guitar case. So I can just throw it in the overhead or put it in a hard case and check it.
Yeah, so maybe show us some more stuff that you find yourself doing with the Bigsby and like walk through how the advantages of having a Bigsby and also like the construction of it, because it's like really high quality, right?
Yeah. I love the construction of Gretsch guitars. I think they're amazing. They stay in tune for the most part, which like, you know, I had a Bigsby on my Gibson for a little bit, and that's like just asking for problems. Those things don't stay in tune just sitting, not being played. So it's nice to have a guitar that kind of like holds up with weather changes and whatever. But I just love having the versatility of having a Bigsby. And then this bridge, it's pinned, which a lot of Gretsches don't have pinned bridges. So like if you pulled the strings off, the bridge would fall on the ground. This is pinned to the body, but this bridge kind of rocks back and forth with the Bigsby, which is cool. Like it limits the adjustments you can make to the bridge, but with a nice setup, it's fine. Which I just recently got this set up and it plays amazingly.
So who do you send your guitars into for setups, and what do you usually ask of them, especially with this guitar? Like what is the goal when you're sending this one in? I had a guy in Orange County that I used for a long time. But I've been trying to find someone in LA. And I just found a new guy. He's a family friend. Gosh. Yeah. In like kind of the Valley area, Van Nuys. And I just asked, like, because the intonation, I think from being shipped from across the country, like intonation was out, wasn't staying in tune. And I think it sat in a case for years before I got it.
Eric, right?
Yeah.
Eric's Guitar Shop?
Yeah, so I family friend at Eric's Guitar Shop in
Eric's
Van Nuys.
Guitar Shop in Van Nuys.
And he sets up like so many different guitars. That guitar, that Elliot Easton model that I brought in that other time, I told him that I got it. I was like, oh, I got an Elliot Easton guitar and I want to get it set up. And he's like, oh yeah, Elliot was just picked up all his guitars that I set up.
That's insane.
So he's legit. And I think I got this back in like 2 days or something.
Wow, that is gnarly. That is such a quick turnaround.
Yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, I just wanted it to stay in tune when like using the whammy bar and like get the intonation a little back in, because it was kind of like off up the neck. But yeah, he did a great job, and now this is like one of my main guitars, at least when I'm home.
Right. So on Music Zoo, they say that it's an 8-pound guitar. Does that sound about right?
That sounds a little light.
You think it's heavier than 8 pounds? Or it feels heavier than 8 pounds?
It feels heavier, but it could just be
right.
I'm getting older and weaker.
White finish, gloss urethane finish, laminated maple body. So is it pretty resistant to like dirt and like stuff? Like do you feel like you're cleaning it constantly, or?
No, I'm kind of bad about cleaning my guitars. I've actually had people like kind of scold me for not cleaning my guitars. Like random people I don't know, just be like, "Hey, you got nice guitars. You need to clean those things." Usually like old rocker dudes. But yeah, it is pretty resistant. Yeah, I probably haven't cleaned this. When I got it set up, he probably cleaned it up, but
yeah, it looks great. It looks brand new. It looks pristine. Yeah,
my black one, I haven't cleaned it all, and it still looks shiny.
So it's an ebony fretboard, 25.5 inch scale length, 12 inch fretboard radius, and 22 medium jumbo frets. What kind of strings do you put on this?
Just like D'Addario 10s, just
cool.
Classic, basic strings. I've always used those. Just kind of the last guy that set up my guitars used them, and I don't know. I took that guitar, my first guitar, to him when I was like 15. So I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. So I'm gonna use those strings for the rest of my life.
I love that. Totally. And then it says high sensitive Filtertron pickups. So that's what the pickups are, Filtertron?
Yeah, which is their humbucker.
Cool. And then volume 1 neck pickup, volume 2 bridge pickup, master tone, 3 position toggle, position 1, bridge pickup, position 2, bridge and neck pickups, position 3, neck pickup, and then a rocking bar bridge. Does that sound right? Is that the rocking bar bridge? And then Graph Tech TUSQ XL nut, and then Grover Imperial tuners, which those tuners are insane looking.
Yeah.
I love those things.
Yeah, I love Gretsch guitars. Just like always have things purely done for aesthetic reasons, and like, you know, the thumbnail inlays like this. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this, like, it's like a classic, like they use this finish on drums, like it's broken glass, I think, when it's on a drum kit, but it's like this reflective gold binding. It's just like so gaudy, but I love it. The only bummer is like if there's a light overhead, it completely reflects back, and so I can't see where I am on the fretboard sometimes.
My gosh.
So that's, I don't know. Like the aesthetics definitely take away from the function side. But yeah, the tuners are great. My black one actually has locking tuners, but they have the same like little pin. Yeah, this one's not locking, but the other one has locking tuners, which is nice to have.
Well, where can people follow you if they want to keep up with your Gretsch guitar journey?
Jakob Thomas with a K on everything, I think.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing over this beautiful Gretsch Falcon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you guys like the show, subscribe, comment, and we will hopefully see you guys all next time. Don't forget to watch. You have another episode with us, the Elliot Easton Tiki Thunderbird? Firebird. Tiki Firebird. So watch that episode. And yeah, you have other guitars we want to do. We want to do your ES339 and your Telecaster Nocaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there'll be more Jakob to come. So we will see you guys all later. Bye.